Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Adita Karkera, Chief Data Officer for Deloitte's Government and Public Services with Deloitte. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Fredy Diaz, Deputy Chief Data Officer for the United States Department of Agriculture. Fredy, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about, you outlining your 5 strategic pillars, right, in the data strategy. As you're thinking about operationalizing that strategy now, is there like maybe an example that you want to share with the audience of maybe one particular initiative that you're really passionate about in the next 6 months to come or so?
Sure. I know everyone's talking about artificial intelligence now, so I'll use that as an example to kind of show where the work that we've done on the data strategy has really helped with that. So USDA, like other agencies, are also working on developing their AI strategy if they haven't already, in accordance with the Office of Management and Budget. So this is where I think the credibility that we've built from the developing and starting to execute the data strategy in this more holistic view across multiple stakeholders is paid dividends. So now it's just a matter of doing that exercise again and getting with different stakeholders, and maybe in some cases new stakeholders that weren't initially involved with the data strategy. It's been helpful not just in like crafting the vision for AI for USDA, but even our ability to execute on newer technologies like generative AI. So being able to work across different groups that we're not the new kid on the block. We've already worked together. We've already established a rapport and some initial trust, so we can work on that together. And that's not just at the department level. That's also, again, working with our mission area counterparts that make up USDA and ensure that we're all working together. So I know strategy may not be at the top of everyone's list, but it's an area that we feel making that investment will help ensure that we can scale the activities we have with artificial intelligence.
Absolutely, yeah. And as you're talking about like your focus on the AI strategy, Freddie, and I know you all also just completed your AI inventory that was published, right? Is there a particular example or use case that you want to share on how the department is actually operationalizing the power of AI in your day-to-day operations?
Yeah, there's I think so many examples. While I normally love to share examples of tools and different prototypes have been built, I think I'm actually the most proud of really of two things. One is that USDA has an AI Center of Excellence that was a initial grassroots group. It actually started out of our scientific research community and has since expanded across USDA. And we've solidified that as part of our governance structure. But I love the fact that this started as an initial group and has scaled up. And now we have a bunch of practitioners that we can call on, various projects, big, hairy problems that come up with AI. And we're not just solving it, at the department or, in small pockets. We can call on this group where needed. The second item that I'm really happy, to talk about is our work with the chief technology officer and the ability to deliver on AI. Like we need the ability to spin up technologies quickly. So we've been working on incubators, not just for artificial intelligence, but for other projects as well. But the ability to spin up a technology quickly, evaluate it, kick the tires, and see if it's good for our purpose and our fit is a valuable service. We're just getting started, but that partnership has really paid off. And we're expecting that when that fully matures, that it will reduce our time to actually evaluate technologies and software that we can react quickly as this landscape changes on a daily basis, it feels like. So having that capability to us is very important. And it did not happen by ourselves. It happened through our partnerships.
That's so true and such a fantastic example because you're right. Like it seems like technology is changing so fast, especially in the AI and Gen AI landscape. Like, you got to stay on top of things. And especially being in the government space, I've heard so many of us talk about the challenges and, how do you continue to evaluate and adopt new technologies? So your incubators concept, I think, is going to really appeal to the audience. And thanks for sharing that. Um, Freddie, I've also heard you talk a little bit about your open data work and how you are really truly managing data as a strategic asset across the board at USDA. Can you talk a little bit more about that open data work?
Yeah, absolutely. This was also a focus of our inaugural data strategy and in our new one that we launched late last year. But um, what's great about USDA is that we have so much public data available. We have statistical agencies at USDA. We recently released the Census of Agriculture, which is one of our flagship public data products. And we also have other products that we host on our open data platform that really show the public how dollars are being spent in various areas. One particular program I'm going to mention is the Rural Data Gateway out of our rural development group that they launched. And it allows a lot of folks, it allows stakeholders to see how rural development investments are made across the country. So there's so many valuable tools and data sets that are coming out. We're also publishing data in the classroom. We're putting data in universities around the country. We're starting with a few, but the goal there is really to ensure that students have a real world data set and real world problem statement to work on. It's been great for us because it gives us valuable feedback, from students and from professors, but also it is a implicit talent acquisition tool. It allows students to actually ask themselves, "Wow, this is really cool. This is really interesting. Maybe I should consider a career in public service or specifically at USDA." So we found that there's a little bit of a shift, um, not only with students now considering public service by engaging in public data that's in the classroom, but also with USDA employees now saying, how do I make my data publicly available so I can put it in the classroom, so I can use it for these purposes? So it's slowly starting to shift from a check in the box requirement to that strategic asset that we all want data to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just love that sentiment, Freddie, of like, hey, really democratizing the public's data and getting it back into the hands of classrooms and colleges. What a fantastic idea. And I know you've also championed several datathons with women in data. And I know you have a really strong commitment for diversity. So thank you for being a strong ally for us out in the community. But my question would be, as you talk about democratizing data and bringing it into the hands of schools or classrooms, right? There has to be a gentle balance in governance and having that trust in the data that you're publishing. And how are you approaching that balance as you think about, pushing that open data and democratizing that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's always reasons to ensure that data may have, let's say, some sensitive information in there. We need to ensure that we have proper processes in place. But I think a lot of times it really just comes down to what is its fit for use, and we want to make sure that those questions are brought up in earlier stages. I mentioned earlier our open data platform for sharing dashboards publicly. We're seeing an uptick in the amount of dashboards shared publicly because we're seeing people say, this is data that has been locked away and we didn't think had public utility. And now we're getting positive signals that we need to release this information publicly, share it in a way that makes sense. And we're starting to see that shift. And because of that shift, now it's starting to, questions are now starting to get asked about, how do I make this asset publicly available? Maybe can I, remove some information that maybe we're currently holding in terms of like personally identifiable information, but still
You're
free that
right.
information for the public. So it is a balance. And this is why I think we have a strong data governance process. That mission area assistant chief data officer is empowered to make those decisions on behalf of their mission area, but also understanding that, they're kind of straddling two lines. They're here to support the mission and the business, but they're also a data officer. So how can they ensure that they're addressing the concerns in the program, but also trying to free that data asset publicly.
Yeah. Freddie, as you're talking about this, I also feel like, there is that need and the drive for data literacy in the organization to bring this balance of data democratization and governance, right? And I know you've been a huge champion for bringing about data literacy programs, both in USDA at scale and also within your immediate team. Can you share a little bit about what approaches have been successful for you in your experience regarding data literacy programs?
Yeah, this is an area that I think USDA has done really well in. I'll share three of them that I think are really relevant. One is Another grassroots program that started in one of our mission areas at USDA called the USDA Data Science Training Program. So this is a homegrown program started out of the Food and Nutrition Service, led by their assistant CDO, and it was a 9-10 month long program. Probably had about 2 dozen folks when it first started, and it just spread like wildfire to the point now where it is now sponsored by the Office of the CDO. It is now across USDA, and I believe we're up to a little less than 200 participants this year, and hopefully look to expand it even further based on resources and other items. But that's an area where we want to kind of focus on upskilling our folks through training, through a capstone project, through networking amongst each other, so they know that they're part of a community, part of a tribe. And that's a program that I think is you know very near and dear to our data strategy, which is why we explicitly listed that program and its success. Um, Another way that we're looking to address this is through rotational programs at USDA. So either rotating from a mission area to the department to our office or back, or even laterally across the mission areas is something that we're really starting to pick up steam, because it's great that you learn it in data science training program, but sometimes you need actual hands-on experience and different perspectives. You gain empathy when you go from one part of the organization to another. So we're really looking at increasing the amount of rotational opportunities that we give folks. And the last one is, I think, a combination of both, which is we're really embracing rapid prototyping, hackathon events, both internal but also external. And we hope to give folks just an opportunity to tinker, to prototype, to build something, regardless of whether they have data in their title, data analyst, data scientist. Just give people an opportunity to apply the skills that they've learned either from, these programs, YouTube University, articles they've read, like this, or just, things they picked up along the way. And those are the three ways that we're trying to just give people opportunities to kind of learn. And just all we're doing at the CDO's office is making them a little bit more formal to give everyone an opportunity to participate.
Yeah. Freddie, final question for you as I'm looking at the time here. For folks that are aspiring to be in data roles, whether they're CDOs or just aspiring data professionals, what advice do you have for those aspiring professionals, especially in the government space? And how can they prepare themselves to land a role in data in the federal government space?
It's advice that someone gave me years ago, which is like, don't be afraid to volunteer. I have a lot of, going back to the rotational opportunities. I've had a lot of folks that have expressed interest in rotating to the office of CDO or somewhere in the organization, and it's just started with the question and just asking, how could they be of help? And everyone has some set of skills that they've acquired over the years, and it's great when you can show up and say, I'm really good at these items. How can I be of service? And I'm sure in every organization there's an ability to do that, but it starts with making your intentions known, and just letting someone know, either a peer or even just a cold email to someone and say, I would love to explore an opportunity. I feel like that's a tip that has served me well over my career, and I give that advice to many people. The other thing I would say is, and I look at my peers across federal government that are doing this more and more, and I love it. They're embracing data challenges that are public, that are in their organization. There's so many opportunities to sign up and be able to kind of show off skills and build a portfolio of work. So those are the two pieces of advice that I would give to people right now.
Great advice, Freddie. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing all of your experience and insights. And many congratulations on all of your success so far, and best wishes for the year to come.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for having me.